Sports presents.
SIZZLE, what's up, baby? How you feeling?
Hey, Jay, you know they let us back in this building. I don't know why they keep doing it, but they do it.
Where's security?
Don't worry, man. I got you back.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Hey, we be all good.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Way back into time. All right, let's get this show started.
You're listening to The Sizzle, the talk of the 219, the hottest sports talk in the region, on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Oh, you know what it is. You know who it is. It's The Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio, Iron Skillet Television.
Yes, sir.
We are the talk of the 219. We are the hottest talk in the 219.
Yep.
Woo, baby, we are fire. And we're here to talk about the Chicago Bears.
Yes, sir.
As you know, the time is now. The time is right now. This is the time. This is the moment. We need to talk about it. We need to get it out there. We need to make sure that we're ready to rush up in here and take over the hall and just act like we live here.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not a Bears game.
That didn't sound right. Okay. Yeah.
No, that didn't. Okay.
That was in D.C.
Oh, yeah. Well, if we go to D.C., we're going to take it over, and we're going to go. We're gonna go to Tampa and take it over.
We won't do that either.
Go to LA.
Won't do that either.
We're gonna go someplace else, and we're gonna go over here, and then we're gonna go and we're gonna just take it over. Yeah. That's what we're gonna do. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, you see how excited I am about an NFC playoff play round. The playoffs. They're here.
Yeah.
Sean Payton. Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, let's see, Michael Thomas,
Yeah,
a whole lot of good offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Jay, let's jump into the question everybody wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
Is how the Bears gonna win, man?
Man,
just want to know how they're gonna win.
Look, the Bears don't have a turkey's chance on Thanksgiving. You understand what I'm saying? They look, man. You talking about the Saints have been carried with this defense. Now you got Drew Brees got the rust off of him now. You know what I'm saying? If he had just been coming back off that injury, the Bears have a shot. Now you got Alvin Kamara who just rushed for 75 touchdowns in one game. You know, and they're getting Michael Thomas back.
I mean, okay. All right. See, those are all right. That's all minutia. It
doesn't mean anything. And now is it true? Rumor has it that Matt Nagy was calling part of those plays against the vaunted Packers, and that's the reason why the Bears' offense started looking so pedestrian. Have you heard the same thing there, SIZZLE?
Well, I've heard in these streets they say that Matt Nagy said, man, I can't take this no more. I can't have you just coming in here and being successful. So what we're going to do is we're going to run jet sweep 434-2. Then we're going to do a double jet sweep right. And then we're going to come back and we're going to hit him with a gut punch. And we're going to have our receiver as our main running back. They'll never see it coming.
I hope it comes out that somebody legitimately says that Matt Nagy took over those play calling and the Bears look like they look, because he needs to stay out of the soup. He needs to stay out of the soup. The only way they're not going to beat this Saints team by dinking and dunking the football all over the place. You're going to have to let Mitchell Trubisky roll him out and let him push the ball down the field. That's what you're going to have to do, because they're going to have to score points against this team. Because Drew Brees, for whatever reason, the Bears defense were great the first half of the season. Now they are a shell of themselves for whatever reason right now. A lot of the same personnel, but for whatever reason it's not jiving anymore. I don't know what's going on, I don't know if it's scheme or whatever it is. But the Bears got to score some points. You cannot go down here and do like you did against the Pack, get down into the red zone and then come away with nothing. We just can't do that. We know, even though I hate to say this now, but man, who cares? Who cares about Robbie Gould? Who cares about Robbie Gould? We don't need no Robbie Gould. You know, we got what's his name, Santos. I don't even know exactly what his name is, but we got a guy kicking up a storm. Where did they find this guy at? Where did they find this guy?
Cairo Santos, the new NFL. He is your special teams player of the week.
Kicking the ball, man. That guy's just kicking the heck out of the ball. I mean, you know, he needs to get some game balls, something. You know, something.
What it shows what Matt Nagy can do when he focuses his energy. I mean, they focused the whole season on a kicker, not a lineman.
But was he one of those guys they brought in? Was he? I forget now. Was he one of those guys they brought in that search?
You know what? I think he was before that search because Cairo Santos came from Tampa Bay,
yeah,
so he was one of those guys. I think he came in early.
Yeah, I don't think he was in that search
released
thing.
Him, didn't they?
I thought so. I think it's something weird. I'd have to look that up. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not going to look it up right now, though. But I'd have to look that up and see his those. But you know, he's kicking the football great. But I want to see him kicking extra points, not field goals against the same team. Because that's on the way the Bears are going to win.
Well, you know, the sad part is you've got the Bears in the Saints' den. You've got them in the Dome, where they are phenomenal in the Dome. And they are really a team above the rest. But when we're talking about the Saints, and we're talking about what they can do, the biggest question that I think looms over everything is how do you set up a path to victory? How is it, Jay, give me 3 steps, just 3, that the Bears can take to win this game. How are they going to get past if they are to move anywhere? How do they get forward with what they have right now?
Man, the 3 steps they got, their names are Montgomery, Patterson, and Trubisky. And they need to be running the football. Mitchell Trubisky, this is the time now. RPO, let's use commit. Let's get the bigs on the outside. Let's get that end crush down. Let's come down and crack back with your wide receivers who are willing to block. And we got to get around the corner and get on this edge. And let's use the speed, our strength, against their team's quote-unquote weaker part of their defense, because they might have one of the best defense in the league right now. But you're going to have to run this football. You're going to need to look like Nebraska with Jarvis Redwine. You're going to have to look like Oklahoma with Billy Sims and Overstreet. You got to run this football. We need about 130 yards of rushing combined to have a chance to win this game. We got to get Montgomery going. Mitchell Trubisky needs about 35 or 40 yards running the football. We need a gadget player or 2 to run. We got to run the football to keep this defense of the Saints honest. If we can keep them honest, that's going to keep Mitchell Trubisky upright in the pocket and give him a chance to push the ball downfield. Secondly, the more we can keep Drew Brees on the sidelines, the better off the Chicago Bears are going to be. That is my 3 keys, are the 3 guys and their legs will give you 6 keys. They need to run the football. Now, just another thing that they need to do also, since I'm thinking about it, you got to let Mitchell Trubisky throw this football. You got to let him throw. I mean, I hate to say it, but you got to put points up. You got to let him push the football downfield. You can't sit up here and dink and dunk all over the place. You got to take the top off this defense and let Mitchell throw the ball.
You know, we've always talked about mistakes, and we talk about it with our sons, our children all the time. We tell them, you have to make mistakes. And in this situation, I'm asking at this point, has anyone figured out that the only way for Mitchell to truly get better is, number one, to invest the time and saying, you are the starter now. We're even going to float or swim with you. It's going to work. And you're going to have to make some mistakes. But he's made crucial mistakes, Jay, in the red zone.
Yeah, well.
That's where I jump off the bandwagon, because you keep throwing interceptions in the end zone. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Well,
how do you correct someone who keeps making those kind of mistakes?
You can't correct it now. It's too late. It's too late. That's why I said, take the training wheels off of him and cut him loose. You got to let him go be Mitch right now. You're one and done right now. You are in the NFL playoffs. You are in a magical playing game that last year wasn't there. So you're lucky to even be here. That's number one. Number two, if you try to play it close to the vest and don't push this ball down the field, Drew Brees is going to light our defense up. I hate to say it, they didn't get to Aaron Rodgers, and he had a depleted offensive line in front of him. Those guys came in there blocking like all pros. They look like this Saint offensive line is about as good, and Drew Brees gets to get out of next gen stats. He is the second fastest quarterback at getting the football out of his hands. The ball is not going to be there. He's not going to sit there and pat the ball and wait. He's going to throw the football. So you're not going to get to him. So you're going to have to cover all the short stuff. So the only way that the Bears have an opportunity to win this football game is that Mitchell Trubisky has to go out here and play out of his mind. This is what he had to have a Mitchell Trubisky game. Back in 2018, he needs one of those. He needs to throw for about 270 with 2 touchdowns. He needs to go 21 for 30, something like that. They need to get the running back. They need to go. This is what needs to start happening. Mitchell Trubisky needs to run for about 40 yards. This is what they need to do. So let's not play it too close to the vest now. Let's not give Matt Nagy, don't let him call a pass. Don't let him call anything. Let Laser call the game, but we got to push this ball downfield. I'd rather see Mitchell Trubisky throw 3 interceptions and they go down in flames than to sit up here and watch Mitchell Trubisky throw the ball sub 20 times. They run the ball for 80 yards and they get blasted out of there. And then all of a sudden you look up in the middle of the third quarter, and now he's got to get back and start throwing the ball all over the field, and then the game will be over. So they're going to have to, we're going to have to live and die with Mitchell's arm. That's what's going to have to happen this time.
I'm just wondering if Drew Brees is actually who they should have been working towards to pattern himself after. And maybe, just maybe, I don't know, but maybe that's what Ryan Pace saw.
And who?
When he looked at a Mitchell Trubisky.
No.
Maybe he thought Drew Brees.
No.
You have to. I'm trying to give him an out. I'm trying to give him an out, Jay. I'm trying my best to give Ryan Pace an out. That the only thing you could see is that maybe there was a little Drew Brees in Mitchell Trubisky.
No, he put all his information in his bozo pewter, his size, his strength. He looked good in a pair of shorts. And and he does look. He's fast. He could throw the football. All that adds up. The problem is with him that it doesn't add up when he has to read defenses, and that's the part of it that they couldn't get that figured out. And when they didn't get that, it's like I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Draft Day?
Mm-hmm.
With Kevin Costner? Remember they had the great quarterback, the number 1 quarterback out there. He had everything until he got hit in the mouth. And then the next play after that, he was real jittery throwing the football. It's the same thing. You could have all the intangibles, but the one thing that is tangible is that when he comes to reading defenses, Mitchell Trubisky does not do that well. And because of that, that's going to be a downfall for him until you put him into a Lamar Jackson type of an offense that relies on his athletic ability. Let him move the ball around the field. Let him run. Let him be a threat. Now you're using what he does well, and that's running the football. Can he survive in the NFL? Because he doesn't have exceptional speed. That means somebody's going to clack him at some point in time. You see, he's not the most durable guy in the world. He's tough, but he's had a couple of times where he's got their shoulder dinged up while he's been in the NFL. So right now with the Bears, their biggest problem is that they have a guy that they try to treat like he was a Ferrari, but actually he had a Ferrari body and a Volkswagen engine.
Interesting. Because one of the things I've gotten out of the streets is that you need to really look back at the quarterback clinic, the one that you had where you really saw before Mitch came into the league, when he was working with Chucky and they were doing some things, and you realize then at that point, maybe this reading defense thing is just not his thing. For some reason, he's an idiot savant to knowing how to run and throw, but he can't figure out how to read what's going on the other side, which leads to that next point with Cameron Jordan in the defense. How do you get past a defense you can't read?
Because now you have to take what, by scheme, you can dictate what the defense is going to do. By scheme, you can do that.
Okay.
So if I put you in a 5 wide, I make you defend all the way across the football field. Then it gives me an opportunity to now put somebody in motion, and let's read and see, are you playing man on that, or are you playing zone? Now if I got one-on-one type of matchups, which is my best one-on-one matchup, and I have to win these one-on-one matchups. Now, can you consistently win these one-on-one matchups? Well, you don't really have those guys. I mean, Robinson is great, but I don't know if he's a consistent, I'm going to beat you every time wide receiver. But you got to give yourself an opportunity. If you start playing into their defensive scheme and you allow them to check and do what they want to do, now you're playing against a game that you can't win. So you got to put these guys into something they haven't seen before. You got to put them in, you got to put them into a lot of trips. You got to make them take their defensive backs and play over on the other side of the field, and you come play one-on-one with Cole Kmet or with Jimmy Graham one-on-one on their backside linebacker, and you just go out here and play pitch and catch. That's what I would do. I would play ISO football, just like you play ISO basketball. I would clear one side of the field, I'd roll to that side, and it'd just be me and Jimmy Graham all night, or me and Cole Kmet all night, or me against the defensive end, and let me see if I can get past him. That's what I would do. I would play one-on-one, fast break, ISO football. And I think if they do that now, it's best against best team against best team. Because if you put that Bears offense against the Saints defense in scheme wise, Bears don't have a shot. You got to even this up, and that's what you got to play one-on-one football, and that's one thing I would do.
I don't know if they've shown any ability to play one-on-one though. I've never seen them actually put a plan together where it's one-on-one for 4 quarters. Well, I've seen them do it for 1 quarter. I haven't seen them do it for 4.
The problem is that you got a system coach in Matt Nagy. He's got a system. So in his mind, I'm going to run my first 15 scripted plays. I'm setting this up. I'm going to do this. This scheme's going to work against this. If not, then I'm going to check down in this. If the Mike linebacker does this, then we're going to check this. Blah, 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 blah. He's got all these checks going on, and you only got 40 seconds to run the play. So we've seen that Mitchell Trubisky is not Aaron Rodgers. The reason why Aaron Rodgers I think is better this year, because they sort of dumbed down the play calling verbiage, because his coach before that, before LaFleur, why can't I think of his name right now? The coach before LaFleur.
Yeah, you see what he's doing in Dallas right now.
The key to it for that offense was that he didn't do a lot of pre-check screen movement beforehand. So Aaron Rodgers literally had to come up to the line, do all the checks at the line, make all the hot reads at the line, and literally was doing a PhD, taking a test every time he went up there to snap the football. And Aaron Rodgers still did well. Now you have an offense that's sort of not dumbed down, that's the wrong term, but all those extra checks, all the stuff he had to go through was sort of already put into the template. And now he can go up in there and just read it and call it, and you see he's having an MVP type of year. We've got a quarterback that's not able to process information that fast. So you have to put him in a position to let him do what he does well. It's like why don't you take your running back and play him at offensive guard? Because that's not what he does, right? He's not equipped to do that. You're going to lose. But if you put him in the backfield where he's supposed to be and get him on the edge somewhere and get somebody to block out in front of him, you might have an opportunity to do something. That's what you got to do with Mitchell Trubisky. Play him like he's supposed to be played and let him get after and let him start to attack. But if you see this nonsense again, like we saw against the Packers in the second half, where the Bears started looking like the old Bears again, you know Matt Nagy's back on the headset.
I doubt if he's ever left the headset. I don't believe he's ever left that set. I believe he's always been there, somewhere lurking around in the background, just there. I'm wondering if he's wondering if it's going to work or if it doesn't work, because it seems like he's ready the minute it doesn't work. I'm going to take these play calling, uh, the role back. I'm going to take that authority back, and then I'm going to implement what, to your point, my game plan. And I don't know if that can work now in the playoffs when it's a one and done system.
It hasn't worked up to this point. Matt Nagy's game, Mitchell Trubisky didn't turn around until Laser started calling these plays. And that's when you saw this offense. Now, it did turn around to get some bad teams, Texans and a few other teams like that. However, though, they did show a flair that things could happen. Now, when you got up against the Packers, the Bears were moving the football. They just weren't putting the ball in the end zone. And if we could have put the ball more in the end zone, then maybe that game's more competitive at the end. And maybe the Bears, I don't ever think the Bears had a chance because you still had Aaron Rodgers having a perfect passing rating going into the third quarter. So if our defense never was going to get there, like if they don't get there against Drew Brees, it's a wrap anyway.
I'm wondering, what is New Orleans defense going to do? What will they do to offset Mitchell Trubisky? How will they attack him so that he's not prepared for their defensive game plan?
How will they attack him?
Yeah.
They have some of the best edge rushers in the league right now. This defense is probably the number one defense in the league right now. And because of that fact that Mitchell Trubisky is not going to be able to sit back in his pocket, drop back and throw the football. He's not going to be able to do that. They're going to have to get Mitchell Trubisky moving in that pocket. So I think what's going to happen, the way you're going to have to attack this defense is that Mitchell Trubisky is going to have to come up and run a NASCAR style of offense. I think he's going to come up and take away the biggest advantage that the Saints defense has in this scheme. Their scheme is fantastic. They got guys who can play their scheme. They don't get out of their lanes. They play extremely well. I think through the first weeks 1 through 9, they were given a 231 passing yards a game. But now when you look up from week 10 through 16, they cut that down by almost 40 yards. That means they're getting after the quarterback. If I'm looking at these stats right, at the first week of the year, their teams 1 through 9, they had a 99.1 quarterback rating. After that, the second half of the season, their quarterback ratings against them were 75.4. So what I'm saying to you is that they are going to get to you. You have to out-scheme them, and that's why I'm saying you got to play this one-on-one game and attack them. If you don't play this one-on-one game against them, you're going to get beat because they're going to eat you alive.
That's interesting. It's interesting that they're able to keep holding on, and they seem to have gotten better defensively as the year has gone on, where you can't say the same about the Bears. The Bears, even though they've had injuries, it seems as though their play has waned as of late. Now, maybe I'm wrong, Jay. Is it something I'm not seeing when it comes to the Bears defense? Because something looks flawed, but I don't know what it is.
I don't think they know what it is either. I mean, your mainstays have been there for the most part. Your Keem Hicks is there. Khalil Mack is there. I still don't know if they've seen or have they found out who's playing the other defense. Do we got Leonard Floyd back playing for us again? Is that who's playing the other defensive end? Because we haven't heard hide nor hair. Huh?
Yeah, it would be good to have Leonard Floyd back.
How dare you say that? How dare you say that?
It would be good. It would be good to have
it would be good if Leonard Floyd was playing for the Bulls. But I'm not going
to fight you on that one. I think he would be good. He would be a great power forward for the Bulls.
He would be. So, it's just right now, the Bears stars have to be stars right now. Keem Hicks got to play out his mind. We got to get some pressure. Look, Alvin Kamara, what we going to do with him? Are we going to stack the box and then make Drew Brees have to beat us downfield? That means now our safeties got to play at least a single high safety the whole night. We can't go man across. We're going to have over-the-top safety help. If you go to that two-deep shell, talking about Drew Brees, one of the best that ever gets done, they're going to hit those tight ends up the seams. But that's where the cover two is weak. So the whole key to the Bears defense right now is trying to get pressure on Drew Brees, who gets rid of the ball faster than anybody else in the league right now, and still hold your running lanes against Alvin Kamara gets to play action. So this is a daunting task for a Bears defense where they're going up against a Saints offense that's on the rise right now. And then you still got to deal with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, look, beyond playing the Wildcat, Taysom Hill is a nasty guy in the slot. I mean, he's a matchup. He's fast and he's big. You know, he's big as a linebacker, and I think he can outrun most of the linebackers. You know, so he to me he's a hybrid tight end who can just throw the football. You know, he's Greg Olsen.
I got a question. Is Taysom Hill, because let's say the whole thought is this was Drew Brees' last year.
Yeah.
He made a statement a few weeks ago that he's actually been playing each year for the past 4 years like it was his last.
Uh-huh.
So now that you got Taysom Hill, or you've had him, but now that you have Taysom Hill and you've got Famous Jameis, and they're both there, which one is your starting quarterback if you lose Drew?
It ain't Famous Jameis, I know that. It ain't Famous Jameis. I'm not starting Famous Jameis. You can't trust Famous Jameis. Can't trust him.
He will steal his way right to your heart.
Yeah, probably so. You can't trust Famous Jameis. The reason why I say you can't trust Famous Jameis, I think it was Booger McFarland who said this. I can't think who said it. But he said the same thing about the former Washington QB that got ran out of town, Dwayne Haskins. Here's a guy who got too much money and didn't do what was necessary to keep that money coming in. Famous Jameis has done enough to stay in the league, but I don't think he has the wherewithal to be a starting NFL quarterback where the only thing that matters to him is football for 9 or 10 months out of the year. I mean, you look at a guy.
Always talk about.
What's that?
Yeah. Well, we talk about commitment. When you look at a guy, his commitment is not to be a quarterback.
You look at a guy, and I bring him up, but you look at Tom Brady, right? He basically tells his wife. He basically tells his wife when he gets ready to train, you got the kids for the next 9 months. Basically, he's up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He don't go to bed till 2, and it's football. If he's sitting around watching something, he's got his tablet there and he's looking over plays, or he's checking on stuff, or he's rewriting some things, or he's working out new schemes, or he's working out. You understand what I'm saying? He's that guy. You know, he's Steph Curry. You know, a guy every year you see him, his handle's better. Every year you see him, he does something spectacular. Every year you see him 105 threes in a row. How do you get to that point? Because you live in the gym. This is what you do. So I don't think Famous Jameis is that guy. And who knows if I would have been that guy if I got that much money at such a young age. You know what I'm saying? But
well, see, that was my issue with Booger McFarland. Booger McFarland's whole thing was a generalization of it blanketed all African-American quarterbacks, all African-American players. That blanket was a mischaracterization because you could have said the same about Booger McFarland. Booger McFarland was not the greatest at his position. He was a little lazy, a little not committed, a little not thoroughly invested and immersed in his craft. And so to that point, it's the individual. Now, we already had an indication with Jameis Winston from what happened in college. You knew it probably wasn't going to be the best thing. The thing with the young man in Washington, okay, that was a Dan Snyder pick because this boy went to school or high school with his son. And okay, whatever you thought about Dwayne Haskins, first of all, did anybody ever stop to think if Dwayne Haskins is in school with the owner of the Washington Redskins' son, This boy didn't come from bad stock. This wasn't a boy that just was in the hood roaming around. This was somebody that had access to everything that other young man had to. So the question was Dwayne Haskins ever thoroughly immersed in being an NFL quarterback or an NFL professional? I don't even know if it's just NFL. I don't know if he would be a good professional in any sense right now.
Okay, well
because it just doesn't seem like the kind of person that's interested in being a good person.
Then we see what happened to him. I mean, my whole thing about this is that playing in the NFL is a privilege, not a right. You earn that privilege to play in the NFL. As many black guys, even though the league is becoming predominantly black, there's a whole bunch of white guys come in every year, and these guys party their way out the league, and we never really hear about it, or they don't commit themselves like they're supposed to, or whatever the situation. We don't hear about it because it's not popular to talk about that guy. But the issue is that when you are a quarterback in the NFL and you get NFL starting quarterback money, you're expected to act in a certain way because you are one of the top 64 quarterbacks in the world. That's what you are if you're a starter or a backup in the NFL. The mere fact that you can start in the NFL, you are a bad boy. I guarantee you, if we were to watch Dwayne Haskins in person throw the football, we would go, oh my God. Oh my God. That's what we would say. You could probably hear the ball going past you when he's throwing it. I remember when I played in Arizona, we played against John Elway when he was at Stanford. And I saw John Elway throw a ball that probably was no more than 6 or 7 feet off the ground, about 50 yards. I mean, literally saw him throw a strike at about 50 yards, 45 yards. Maybe I was somewhere around there, but it was a strike at like 40 yards. It was about 6 or 7 feet off the ground. I mean, just the arm strength to be able to throw a ball like that. It's just amazing. So when you get guys like this, it takes that little extra effort then to stay in the league. And so you get these young guys like the Dwayne Haskins and other young guys out here that have to make the adjustment, especially, and I don't know this to be true, I'm summarizing, whether you be a white guy, whatever guy, Mexican guy, whatever, and you bring your little crew along and you taking care of everybody's situation, and mama and them, everybody got to get a car, everybody want their cell phone bills paid, and everybody's telling you, hey, you're the greatest, appreciate you, this, that, and the other, so forth and so on. Sometimes you don't have to get up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning to go play quarterback. You can get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and make it to the field by 9:30 and still be an NFL quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So you can get out of there at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock and still go kick it with your people and, still get some. There's a whole bunch of, to be really good in the NFL and just to be in the NFL, that thing's huge. That thing's huge. And so it's so much more effort to be really good in the NFL. So I just think, with a guy like Dwayne Haskins, hopefully he can pull it back together and get another shot. I mean, you never know.
With Dwayne Haskins, you never know. It may not be a crew. It could be just his mama, because you've never really heard of his crew. You've heard of his mother was attached. He's got his chick. And even to that point, with a Dennis Rodman would show up 45 minutes before a game and still go in and put in work. He didn't come in with anybody, and he had a huge crew. He had his party boys, and he was normally toe up from the floor up when he came in.
But he was also a guy. But he was also a guy. After a game, he put a full hour in or hour and a half in on the Stairmaster. That's right. So his craft, the thing that he was great at, was his energy. Him to be able to get off the ground 3 or 4 times against your one time getting up off the ground. His ability was his strength so that he could guard all 5 positions. And he knew that. And so even though his strength wasn't scoring the basketball, he did what he needed to do because he was a physical guy and he's a tough guy and he got in his lane and did what he needed to do. That's why he stayed in the league and stayed great in the league all the time. The thing for quarterbacks is 2 things you have to be great at in the league, I believe. You have to be, even your average quarterback is a great thrower of the football. Even if it's wobbling a little bit, those guys can't throw the football. Number two is you have to be able to read defenses. You have to be able to walk up to the line and go, this is what I'm looking at. These are my options. You have to be able to do that. If you can't do that in high school, you got a problem.
You know, I know of a quarterback who can do that. I know of a quarterback who has a good arm, who can read defenses, who has good legs, and is mobile. And, oh, by the way, he won a national championship. And this quarterback actually went after Mitchell Trubisky, and his name is Deshaun Watson. And right now, Jay, it looks like word on the street is Deshaun Watson might become available. So my question would be to you, if you had a chance to trade for or to acquire Deshaun Watson at this point, would you, as the Bears GM or as team president, trade for Deshaun Watson?
Me and about 12 other teams right now.
Yeah.
You know, we'd be along with the Patriots, the Lions, the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, there are a list of them. And if I'm the Bears, if I'm the number two thought of the person who would say, okay, this is who we need. This is what we need. You've got to have this guy. Now, you could have had this guy, but there's a problem. There's a big problem, Jay.
Yeah.
And do you know what the problem is?
I know.
The problem is the evil empire is looking at the person that you're looking for.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
When you have the Grand Seth and Bill Belichick,
it's going to get it figured out.
Looking at your player, you have cap room. You have, oh man, you've got draft picks that you're willing to get rid of.
Yeah,
you've got cap room, and you got some positioning. If I am the Bears, I am terrified that the Patriots can come in and scoop him up after I've made a great decision, which again is why I think Ryan should be fired. I really do. Because
think about
there's no way you can tell me that now you get a chance to make right what you could have done right the first time.
Well, here's the whole thing about it. I think Deshaun Watson only has like $56 million left on his contract. But the issue is that first thing is the Chicago Bears a place that Deshaun Watson will want to come because he believes he can win football games here. Mm-hmm. Why go anywhere you don't have a chance to win when you can go pick around the league where you want to go? Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, he could pick around the league at least 10, 12, 15 different teams who would love to have Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. So the issue is, do the Bears have enough to woo Deshaun Watson over here? That's number one. And if you still have this same guy play calling like he has been for Mitchell Trubisky for the last 4 years, he could probably screw this quarterback up too. So a lot of it has to do with if the Bears should happen to win this game against the Saints, which I don't think that's gonna happen. But now, will this Bears brain trust keep all these people back in the same positions that they were before because they had a good showing at the end of the year? If that's the case, then a Deshaun Watson, why should he come? Then secondly, if you have to get rid of a number of guys on this team, then why would Deshaun Watson come into chaos?
So that's my biggest question. In 2021, can you bring and put a team together that would be suitable enough for Deshaun Watson? And let's say anybody, but we're specifically talking about Deshaun Watson. Could you get something together that would be a playoff team for Deshaun Watson? No,
I don't think so. I think your biggest problem with the Bears, and we've been talking about this now for forever, because we are the Bears Bulls talk show recently for whatever reasons.
Oh yeah, well, hey baby, we get in our lane. We know where we fit in.
But we see
Matt Nagy. We know where we.
But we see with the Bears have had the same problem that they've had for 10 years, that their offensive line's been trash. Now they play better up to this point, but still they still need help up front. That's number one. His Bears defense now is getting longer than two. It's getting longer than tooth right now. How much longer are you going to have an Akeem Hicks, or how much longer are you going to be willing to pay Akeem Hicks? Is Khalil Mack on his way out the door? You got to look and see, because they built this team. When they brought Khalil Mack in, they brought Khalil Mack in because they believed they were an average quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl. That's what they believe. Now that we've shown in 4 years' time that they're still an average quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl. But now their defense now is starting to wane. I think we're starting to see the depth of this defense right now. And unless we have a huge offensive outpouring from here on out, I think the Bears defense is going to be stout for a quarter or two, but if you expect them to carry this team like they did earlier in the year, it's not going to happen. So why would Deshaun Watson come into a situation where you don't have a good offensive line? He's in that similar situation right now, and you have a defense that's a shell of itself because he has a Super Bowl, a super player playing on his own defense with the Texans, and you saw how bad that defense was with a super player on there. So now you can look at the Bears are like mirroring the Texans. We just don't have a quarterback. So why would he come here and be in the same situation that he's in? I don't think the Bears are a team that's desirable right now for a top flight quarterback to come into, because they've already shown that this defense now is starting to wane.